And I want to start with one Myles Garrett. Now, let me tell you this. I came out a couple of weeks ago and said, by no stretch of the imagination, Myles Garrett is done. He is not going to come back, and he's not going to be playing for the Cleveland Browns. We talked about that. I said, his team has been very upfront about him thinking about this for a long period of time. Myles Garrett has made his run on all of the podcasts, on all of the Radio Row stuff during the Super Bowl. He's talked about it, and his name is a buzz at the draft. Well, now we hear the rebuttal. We get the rebuttal from Andrew Berry. Let's pull this up here. We'll go over it. Andrew Berry looks like he's not going to play no games with you. Get this out of here. Bring that up. Boom. Let's go. See what Andrew Berry had to say. What is the status of Brown's position on Myles Garrett and his trade demand? Andrew Berry went on to say, quote, Myles, as you guys have all heard me say, he's a huge part of our organization. He's a really good person. He's an awesome player. We understand the trade request and everything, but our stance really has not changed. We continue to imagine a situation where not having Myles Garrett as part of the organization is best for the Cleveland Browns. So I just wanted to hit that off the top, and with that, I'll open up any questions. So Andrew Berry comes in first and foremost. Pow! He smashed it on the table immediately. Before we even want to get into anything, I just want to let you know it's been a blessed day. This is a blessed day, saith the Lord. And Myles Garrett is a great player. And we look to not be trading Myles Garrett ever. Before he say anything. And so obviously that was something that was premeditated, right? He got to it off top. He went on to say this. Now, this is the crazy part about it. He went on not only to say he was keeping Myles Garrett, but talked about an extension. Is there a potential timeline for the Cleveland Browns to work out an extension with Myles Garrett? Now, this is crazy because Myles Garrett has always contended that he's played his last down. But I'm going to give you what I think about this on the other side when we talk about this, because this thing is about to get drawn on out. And it's getting drawn out not because maybe the Cleveland Browns aren't really shopping him, maybe because the Cleveland Browns aren't necessarily trying to trade him. It's because of the money. And the way that money is lining up right now, there will be no trades before this draft. Let's get to this. Is there a potential timeline for the Browns to work out an extension with Myles Garrett? You go on to say, I think if you've probably seen over the past 5 years, whenever you get into extension talks, they can happen at any time. Barry said, I've learned not to predict those because oftentimes those negotiations, they just come up and down and back and forth. I think if you look at our history through 2020, we've had some that have occurred in March or April. We've had some that occurred in June or July. Some of these have occurred in the season. Some have occurred outside of the season, late as December. So I can't begin to predict, but really do take the approach with our cash cap planning. We take multi-year time horizon and accommodate the flexibility that we need. Listen, what he just told you right there, boys and girls, let me get this up off the screens. What he just told you, boys and girls, is that I have the full weight of the Cleveland Browns purse book at my disposal. At any given time, we can drop that money on Myles Garrett. Right now, Myles is in his feelings. Right now, Myles has a right to be in his feelings. But let's not get it twisted. The Cleveland Browns, see, this is one thing I will give them credit for. And here's what I'm going to say. Hear me out. Because I've said this before, I think Myles Garrett is going to leave. But here's the thing. The Cleveland Browns don't have to take an L in this situation either. What do you mean, G. Bush? You've already taken an L going back with Baker Mayfield because you basically Baker pretty much stopped answering your phone calls and you had to trade him. You had to move on for Baker. Deshaun Watson turned you down the first time. Because he did turn you down that first time, what'd you have to do? You had to dig deep in your pockets and you had to give Deshaun Watson a guaranteed deal. Right? You lost that deal. Now we got Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett comes out prior to the draft. But the thing about the Cleveland Browns is they don't have to make no move before the draft. Myles will probably love it because a move before the draft or sometimes during this process gets him to a place, the best place, the best outlook for what he wants to do. not for the Cleveland Browns. The cap hit is too massive. They got to move money around to even be able to move him. And the cap hit before the June 1st cap hit is astronomical. So Myles Garrett really got in front of this thing and was trying to make this thing move. He's still steadfast and thinking like, okay, I'm done. This is my last year in Cleveland. But what the Cleveland Browns got to understand is don't compound one L with double L's. What does that mean? Don't be hasty. You better sit back and think and look around, gather your thoughts. Because at the end of the day, you're going to have to renegotiate a bunch of deals before you can move Myles Garrett. You got to see what the picks is aligned with Myles Garrett. And you got a lot of wheeling and dealing. You need somebody to be desperate to get Myles Garrett. And from what I've been hearing with these picks that they've been offering, stop it. I heard some picks from Detroit. Detroit want to offer some picks that late first. Man, boy, if you don't get out here with that late first, that little for late first, we're not hearing from nobody perennial powers that make it to the divisional round or the NFC, AFC championship every year, giving us these little picks. Those picks are not going to do anything for us. Those picks are not going to do anything for us. Let's continue on. Andrew Berry was just not talking about Myles Garrett. Looks like Myles Garrett is going to be a candidate to be around at least until the summer. I fully expect him to be on this roster after the draft. And the Browns, they look like they didn't have a conversation. It was like, yo, we're going to chill out on all that. Myles will be in the building until we figure something out. Let's get to this. Other news and notes. Andrew Berry had a lot of other things to say. Couple of them, I don't like the way things is trending in terms of some of this other stuff he's talking about. Let's get to it. I've been talking about this since the injury happened. Go down to the first one. What is the update on Cleveland Browns linebacker Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah and the recovery? This don't look good, boys and girls. I wish I had more specific update for you on Jeremiah. Barry said, I could say that he's slowly making progress. He's going through all that's required medically, but I don't have anything specific on that. Now, come on now. Look. Let me tell you this. I done had neck injuries. I got neck injuries right now. I got ankle injuries right now. I got back injuries right now. There's 2 or 3 elective surgeries on the board right now. I'm just going to deal with the pain, though. I'm not making this about me. What I'm just trying to tell you is the nature of these type of injuries when you talk about a neck. When somebody says, I wish I had an update for you on Jeremiah, think about it like this. They never gave you an update to start with. What did they give you? That he was, banged up a little bit, What did they really give you in that? No one has a diagnosis. No one has a timetable. No one has anything like this. This reminds me of what happened to Ryan Shazier. We were looking for that information and it wasn't there. And then you actually started to see what actual shape he was in. And then you realize, oh, this could be career ending. Yeah, if I were you boys and girls, and my prayers and thoughts go to JOK out there right now. I'm not trying to be hyperbolic, and this ain't about no ultimate Browns or anything. I'm praying for his recovery. But when people don't have no information and we going on 6, 7, 8 months and he's going to see specialists, that doesn't bode well for talking about being on the field. It just doesn't. And I thought JOK was trending in a direction where he was going to be one of those guys. I mean, his year he had, not this last year, but the year before, tremendous. Do you think the Cleveland Browns expect Nick Chubb to re-sign before the start of free agency? This is another one. I would say at this point that we do expect Nick Chubb to hit the market, Barry said. Obviously, his contract is up this year. We'll meet with his rep and everything like that, but it's something that's obviously we need to work through over the next couple of weeks. That is another thing that does not look good. And this is always something and look, I don't, there's a couple of things that I get annoyed about a lot. There's a lot of times where I come on here and I give you the real deal facts. I give you the real deal. It may not be what you want to hear. And then when it all goes down, people just skim over it like I just didn't say that. And when it came to Nick Chubb, I told every single person to pump their brakes multiple times. From my colleagues on UCSS, from the people in the chats, from the people on Twitter and Facebook. I told you to pump your brakes. I said, bro, I tore my ACL twice. I've had the Achilles heel injuries. I've had all these injuries. And guys is prognosticating that they were going to bring back Nick Chubb and he was going to be the savior. And I said, listen, that's too much to be putting on that man. That's too much extra. Y'all got to realize you're not even back to really peak performance. You're still thinking. You're still trying to balance swelling and practicing 2 days in a row. Little small milestones like that. Nick Chubb was hoping to get through this season without injury. Unfortunately, he was injured again with the stress fracture. So I feel like there's a bunch of people, including the Cleveland Browns, that expected Nick Chubb to come back and be 1,000% Nick Chubb, and he was going to show flashes of something. And now everybody's disappointed, like, oh, well, maybe Chubb ain't Chubb no more. And Chubb was never going to be Chubb this year. But the problem y'all got is this. He's not going to be Chubb this year. But I expect him this upcoming year to be fully ready to go. And this is where it's bad for us. Because I don't want to see Nick Chubb walk out the door. And you add insult to injury to a team that's trying to find playmakers, that's trying to rebuild, that's trying to do a lot of different things. And you got Nick Chubb out here looking around, and he goes to the Steelers. Nick Chubb's mess around and go to the Ravens. Chubb is like, hey, I'll go down to the Natty and be a second team back. I'll go out to other places where they're going to give me an opportunity. Hey, Christian McCaffrey, y'all need a little something. And my dying desire, my burning thoughts and desires in my head is I do not want to go see Nick Chubb come back and then us look like a bunch of fools again, because he is another guy who's a pillar of what your organization is about. You rushed him back. You thought he was going to be at. You got rid of him too soon, and now he cooks for another organization. I don't want to see that. So I don't like these news and notes in number 2. Would the Cleveland Browns be happy with either Cam Ward or Shedeur at number 2? We'll talk about this coming up here in a second. Both of those guys, excellent players. They're excellent prospects, Barry said. We're looking forward to spending more dedicated time with them, not only this week, but moving forward. They're impressive young men, not only on the field, but everything that their programs say about them. So all those decisions remain to be seen, but it's a good start with them so far. I think this is a great place for me to dip back and talk about what we were talking about earlier for you guys this far. Let's dip into that a little bit. Let's get to some of this chat. Let's get to some of your thoughts on what it is with Shedeur Sanders, Cam Ward. We've been hearing a lot about Abdul Carter. Let's get to the comments. What are your thoughts about what we talked about so far? Let's get to it. Oh, man. We start off early. The super chat is ready to go. My man, James Crosby, we appreciate you so much. He didn't want to say nothing. He just said, let me just show you something, bro. And I appreciate that, man. Definitely, man. So much. Let's see. Rob Cunningham says Earl for president. Of course, man, all day, man. Wahoo fan. You mentioned Andrew Berry. That scares the heck out of me. Berry still has his job will now draft 9 players. Let me tell you about this, Wahoo fan. So here's what we're going to have to go through. This is going to be a make or break year for Andrew Berry. And the great thing about this and why I'm excited about this year for Andrew Berry is because people's feet are to the flames. I even like some of his more open questions and answers at the combine. I love it. You know why? Because he's going to have to coach for his position. He's going to have to coach for his job. He's going to have to coach for a lot of different things. That's what he's going to have to do. Not coach, but he's going to have to pick these players. He's going to have to be picking people with confidence. He's going to have to swing for the fences. And this is what I want my people to do. I don't want you going into nowhere drafting safe. That's out of my vocabulary. I don't want you going nowhere talking about this is the safest player in the draft. I don't want to hear that. I want you to find me ball players, bona fide guys that can get you where you're going. Because what you need in this draft, you need guys that are going to overachieve. You need guys that are going to make plays, and you're going to need guys that can really cover up from a lot of stuff. If you missed on one guy last year in the fifth, you got to hit on the fifth. If you missed on 2 fourth rounders, the fourth rounder you get this year, he better be worth the last 2 years. He better be, you need makeup production. I'm excited about the fact that they have to go into this thing with their backs against the wall. Brian Summer says, I think the Sanders talk is smoke. Now, here's the crazy thing about this, Brian. I'm trying to figure out if the Travis Hunter's talk today was smoke. Throw something in the chat. We're going to talk about that when we get back too. Put a 1 in the chat if you really straight up feel like the Browns is interested in Travis Hunter. Put a 2 if you think it's smokescreen season. 1 if they're interested in Travis Hunter. 2 if you feel like it's a smokescreen. I was kind of confused that it seemed like Travis Hunter's name came out of nowhere this year at the combine. Speaking of, I'm gonna do this actually a little backwards. We're gonna do it anyway because I can do that. Shaboy, I can do that and get that off. Hold on. I'm gonna read this. This will help you guys out somewhere. We do this. Let's go ahead and do that before y'all even vote. This was at the combine. It says, what position did Andrew Berry think Colorado's Travis Hunter will be a best fit at? Now, I thought this was very interesting because all we heard is quarterback talk so far. We haven't even really dipped and dived and got into Abdul Carter. A lot of fans like Abdul Carter. But Travis Hunter, I thought it was interesting. He said about Travis Hunter, well, I'd say in terms of Travis, cornerback or receiver, Barry said the answer is yes. So he can play both of them, and I think that makes him special. We would see him as a receiver primarily first, but I think part of it, again, what will make him a bit of a unicorn is the fact that he could do both things at a high level. Now, listen. Now, here's why I'm asking y'all this question. At what point in time has your boy Andrew Berry ever said these two things? Special and unicorn in the same sentence. Come on now. You know good and well, y'all G14 classified. Y'all don't even get excited when y'all have children. Y'all be like, yeah, this is a great day. Thank God for this beautiful young baby. Time to go back to the drawing board. You're like, what, bro? You just had a kid. When have you heard Andrew Berry say unicorn and special in the same sentence about anybody? Then he comes straight out and says, hey, look, man, we see him at receiver, though, too. We like him at receiver first. Is this just because their backs are against the wall and he just has no reason to be, like, covering his hand? Or does that seem kind of forward for y'all? To me, as I analyzed this after it came out, it seemed like he kind of forward on this. Like, that seemed real forward. DeJuan Jones. What are Cleveland's concerns with DeJuan Jones after knee surgery? I say with individual energy itself. Let me knock on wood because this went wrong. This went the wrong way for us last year. But the injury individually itself is not something that is creating a lot of anxiety, Barry said. But we do want to focus on making sure that that one can end up the season healthy because durability is a huge part of it. And we're a better team when he's on the field and he's healthy. So that's a major, major focus of the offseason program. This is another thing. This tells me the Cleveland Browns will not be drafting offensive linemen in the first couple of rounds. And that I'm totally fine with. He's very high on DeJuan Jones. They're a better team with him on the field. I think he makes that a point of saying that. But if he was playing smoke screens, he could have downplayed the DeJuan Jones health. Well, DeJuan, he's on target. He's on schedule for meeting all his milestones. But we're always looking to upgrade and be better at those positions, especially premium positions like a left tackle. So the more bodies and the more good players you can have at those positions, the better. He could have gave you that. He didn't give you that, though. So it's just funny. It's just funny. He might have been playing around with y'all with the Travis Hunter one though. Let's see what you guys got to say about it. I thought that was a little cap worthy. I said, this seems like it's kind of. Let's get to it. Where's the ones and twos? Okay. Let's see. What we got? Hey, Travis Hunter got them ones. Hey, one. Yeah, you listen. Y'all think he might like Travis Hunter? One of you like Travis Hunter, or you feel like it was a smoke screen? We got a one. Here come the two. Here come the smoke screens. We got a one that he really liked Travis Hunter. Yeah, Brian Summers has a smoke screen. No days off. Still got the greatest name in the game. No days off. Two smoke screen. My man, like 100% smoke. Let's see. Smoke. Kevin Jones says one. Scott Lambor says, I think right now 7 in play at number 2. I think that means 7 guys are in play at number 2. I wouldn't be surprised if that was it as well. Let me see. 1, 2 for sure. No Olsen's. It's cap. This is definitely a smoke screen. Kevin Jones said they like him. So listen, this is we 50-50 with a lot of this though. This is why the draft is going to be very, very, very interesting, because don't believe what nobody. Here's one thing that's capped for everybody. If somebody tell you that they know what's going to happen, they're lying. They're lying. You don't know if it's going to be a D lineman, trade back, Shador, Cam. You don't know if it's Travis Hunter. We don't know none of that. That's why this is going to be one of the most interesting off seasons that we done had in a while.